Oh, sorry I'm late. I got caught in traffic. No, not really, but I was just sitting in my car listening to Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill, one of the greatest albums of all time.
Yeah. Nice. Cool.
Mike, you good?
Yeah. Come check this out. Jake got here early and he's been in the training room all day.
That's weird. Have you spoken to him?
That's the thing. He hasn't said a word. When I went in there, he tried to touch my face. Honestly, he may have hit his head pretty hard. Found a note where he drew lips with an X drawn over it, with a plus sign and a picture of a fist that equals a bat symbol.
Oh, he thinks if he stops speaking, he'll be able to fight like Batgirl Cassandra Cain.
You could decipher that?
Yeah, it's easy mathematics. Mike, you really gotta keep up.
Should we, do anything?
Nah, he's bound to wear himself out sometime. Want to go drink beers in the parking lot and listen to Carly Rae Jepsen?
Are Superman's underoos red? You didn't have to offer me a beer to say yes to that.
It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's the Super Sons.
Hi, I'm Dan.
And I'm Jake.
And we are the Super Sons, helping you find your foothold in the DC universe. And on today's show, it is part 1 of part 2 of the best Batgirls. Jake, which one are we talking about today?
Talking about Cassie Cain.
AKA Batgirl, AKA Black Bat, AKA Orphan.
Yep.
Her first appearance was in July 1997, created by Kelly Puckett and Damian Scott. Jake, why don't you tell us a little bit about Cassandra?
So she was born and trained to be the world's deadliest assassin. She would later dismiss her father, David Cain, for trying to make her into an emotionalist killer. And she would go on to be a member of the Bat family, as it's the group's greatest fighter and one of their gentlest members.
Her mother is actually the deadly Lady Shiva, who we spoke about in our coverage of The Question a bit back. I don't remember which exact episode it was. In most of her appearance, she is mostly nonverbal, which stems from her father's quote-unquote training to have her read body language as actual language. It makes her an extremely well-tuned fighter, but she has a problem communicating verbally.
But that's also an inconsistent thing especially after this point. But after she was reintroduced in the,
it's one of her defining factors, though. That's what people know her for.
Yeah.
And we will be covering the first 6 issues of her first solo series, Batgirl, from the year 2000, the beginning of the new millennium, the new Willennium, if you will. You Will Smith fans out there.
Oh no! I just thought you said millennium again.
No, it's the Willennium.
Oh,
does he still rap? Like, has he had any recent rap tracks?
Oh, now I have to look that up. Oh boy, Will Smith is Deadshot. It's pertinent.
Yeah, Deadshot. I don't know. Before we get into the episode, let's talk about Will Smith's rap career. I actually like Will Smith's rap. Like, even though it's family friendly, I could sit there and listen to parents just don't understand. Probably on repeat for a good 30 minutes. Parents just don't understand.
Well, I mean, Willennium came out in 1999.
Well, yeah, he had to get us ready for the Willennium.
It says there's just singles, but it looks like he just guesting, just featured.
Yeah, but you can't just jump into the new Willennium. You have to prep for it. That's why he released it in 1999, to get us ready for the Millennium. Because a lot of weird things have happened since then. But no, he also...
Yeah, he had to get it done before Y2K.
Yeah, he had to get the Millennium started. Have you ever heard his Nightmare on Elm Street song?
No.
Nightmare on My Street? It's a pretty good rap track with Freddy Krueger. One of 2. Freddy Krueger has 2 rap songs about him, and he is in both of them. Except he doesn't really rap in this one, he just kind of talks. In the other one, by the Fat Boys, he raps. So if anyone out there is a big Will Smith fan or a big Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy Krueger fan, you're welcome. I don't think there's any connections with Freddy Krueger into the DC universe, so I can't wing us an episode to talk about him.
Dan McMahon, Nightmare on My Street.
Yep. All right, so back to Batgirl. It started in the New Willennium. The series was plotted by Scott Peterson and Kelly Puckett. Script by Kelly Puckett. Pencils by Damian Scott. Inks by Robert Campanella. Colors by Jason Wright. And letters by John Costanza. That one's easier for me to say because of George Costanza.
Yeah. I was thinking that as I was typing. I was like, this is an easy name.
Also, before we even start, there is a panel in this where Nightwing says, "What's the deal with Cassandra?" And all I could think is him saying it like Jerry Seinfeld, like sitting in his, "Whoa, what's the deal with airline food?" Sorry.
Oh boy, Dan.
Welcome to Super Sons. A Seinfeld, Will Smith, Freddy Krueger podcast.
Dan is dreaming of simpler times. Simpler times.
I listen. Seinfeld is a great show. Honestly, although I like Curb Your Enthusiasm more because it's a little, it doesn't have to be held back by like regulations.
You mean the 90s?
Yeah. All right. So, Jake, issue 1.
All right. This because it came out of the New Millennium is not held back by the 90s. Oh boy.
This episode is going to be called The Willennium.
Batgirl in the New Millennium.
Girl in the New Millennium.
Oh, he's writing it down, everybody. He's writing it down. Oh, it's official. Oh, boy.
Did I spell millennium wrong? Probably. Whatever. Let's get to the issues.
Dan McMahon can't spell.
That's a fact.
Professional writer. Dan McMahon. All right. Throughout the story, we get flashbacks and recordings of Cassie's childhood training under her father and handler, David Cain. That's how the issue starts. Her as a young child, and she's being told, she's just putting together a puzzle. It's great. And then she has to fight 5 mercenaries who she easily defeats. And Dan, I'm going back through this. What's up with the fact that they're all in plastic? It's like a thick plastic.
Why they're okay. So there was a show Dexter.
No, I know that thought, but like that looks too thick for that reason. He just used like plastic wrap, like that's like a thick, like with like 3 C's plastic.
As much as we know about the DC universe, I don't actually know too much about David Cain's plastic wrap purchasing habits.
He's got major stocks in plastics.
I don't know if he is like special ordered it. I do know that in The Graduate, one of the advisors at the party tells the main character that the future is in plastic. So maybe David Cain is a big Graduate fan. He really just ran with it. So
simpler times, people. Simpler times. Cut your plastic ring holder thingies.
Here's to you, David Cain, who trained his daughter to be a killer. What a guy.
It's been a while since we recorded one of these.
Wow, I just made Mrs. Robinson about assassin David Cain. Honestly, I'm waiting for the royalties from DC.
Yeah, remember when he also wore like that, like he was also known as the Orphan?
Yeah, he sucks. All right,
yeah.
Continue with the story.
He's big into cassette tapes. All right, so the main mercenary who speaks, he repeatedly appears in Cassie's life. First in her training, second when she's a runaway, and lastly as Batgirl, where he's just completely terrified of her. After, she almost took off his. I think she did take off his jaw, pretty much.
She took a lot of his teeth. That I know.
Yeah. It was not drawn. This was not drawn by Rob Liefeld. That's all I'll tell you that.
No, but like he lost so many teeth, he probably got a lot of money from the Tooth Fairy that night.
Yeah,
honestly, it evens out in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he lost a good number of them. But like his jaw is like hanging off.
Yeah.
This is Hi everyone, welcome to the Detours podcast.
Just keep going.
Yeah.
The DC tours, like deceased, but distors.
Stop. All right, Cassie and Barbara Gordon are training with Screama sticks, and Babs is trying throughout the story to understand her newest successor. She goes into research mode, but finds nothing. The pair even go to the park where Barbara upsets her by forgetting she can't speak. But Barbara does not come out of this story looking that great.
It's not that she doesn't look great. It's just she's having a hard time kind of relating to her. And I think that deals a lot with because how she was raised as a hero. And
well, I also think there's a little bit of resentment because of the succession.
Yeah. She does, yeah.
Yeah. So in talking to Batman, Barbara finally gains some insight into how David Cain made Cassie the silent killing machine by depriving her of speech so that the language center of her brain would process physical movement as speech. So, one of the more interesting aspects of the story is how the art really shows Batman. He's mainly just a silhouette with white eyes because Cassie is supposed to embody him. And her whole suit is just completely black with the mouth covered. I'm gonna harp on that a lot today because I love it. I love the way this art is drawn. It's so expressive. But so he just, and this comes. All right, so supposedly she's supposed to embody him, and that kind of comes into play when she runs into the Merc for the third time in her life. And during training, later in this issue, they're just training. So Batman tells her not to go easy on him, but then he starts coughing up blood, which shows that even though he was underestimating her, she was never holding back. And like we said, she is the Bat family's best fighter. And the pair hear the Merc robbing the an armored bank truck outside. And I already covered this comment, but what is this you added? Damon Scott.
So you didn't really cover it. So the art is really expressive in this story.
Yeah, it's so good.
Damien's art is actually inspired by hip hop.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
He wrote a book, I want to say in the mid 2000s. Hi, Corey. In the mid 2000s, where it's called How to Draw Hip Hop, and he's very influenced by that style, which makes sense because a lot of this art is very expressive.
Yeah, like one of the things I wrote in this note was the fact that even though her entire face is covered, you can clearly make out what her expression is. So
I think. So at first, the first time I read this, I read it a year or two ago, and I didn't love the art. Going back now, I understand the expressiveness of the art and why it works so well for this series. She can't speak, and there's not much ability for her to talk to other people. So being able to express everything through the art and how she feels and how everything is happening is really important, and this art is very distinct. And she's a very unique character in that sense that she is mostly nonverbal. So it
carries honestly a lot of weight.
Yeah, it's the best marriage of art and storytelling because it speaks for her so well.
The issue ends with Cain looking at some old tapes of his greatest weapon, his daughter. And Dan, you can say your line.
Got to return some videotapes. I saw that you wrote that. So, issue 2 opens the letter. Oh, I wrote that? You wrote that. Yeah, I didn't write that.
Yeah, I wrote this like about a month ago.
Yeah, I can tell. So, the issue opens with a letter being written. On the letter, the writer is talking about how he got himself into trouble by putting his life on the line to save someone, because the person reminded him of his own wife because of her wedding ring. And in the note, there's a line about, there's a phrase, the comic book notion of heroism, which is kind of meta because it is a comic book. But honestly, it's a really good line because this is a normal person without any special abilities or training trying to make a difference in the world and be a hero, which is always a cool thing. So back on the streets of Gotham, we meet the actual writer, John Robinson, who is on his way home with groceries when he comes across a group of thugs assaulting a woman. He puts his grocery down and goes after them with a 2x4 that he picks up. He whacks their obvious leader, who's in a suit and tie and all that good stuff, but the other goons grab John. Before they can hurt him, our hero arrives to save the day. So here we see a habit of Cassie that's sort of out of the ordinary for a member of the Bat family. Without having the ability to tell someone how she feels, she has to show them through physical contact and connection. In this particular instance, after she saves him, she kisses Robinson on the cheek. It's her way of saying that she kind of knew that he was a good person, he was doing something right, and that she's just happy. There's a scene in issue 1 specifically where Batman is telling her that she has to be him on the streets. She has to embody that big dark knight shadow and all that kind of stuff. But she can't just say back that she understands, so instead she puts her hand on his cheek and looks at him. It's kind of a way of like, I see you, and she understands what he's trying to communicate, even though she doesn't understand the words that are coming out of his mouth. It's just a simple line of connection, which Batman kind of shrugs away from. He's like, you don't have to do that. And I think it's a really big through line of the entire Bat family in general, because they sort of lack physical affection. You always see the things in like Young Justice when all the sidekicks reunite with their heroes. Everyone gets a hug except the Bat family.
Like you'll see like Tim and Dick like hugging their friends, but never Batman. There is actually an image of Batman getting hugged by Nightwing.
Right, but that doesn't matter because it's such a rare thing that when you do see it, it's something special.
Yeah.
And Batman doesn't have that personal touch because he's got his own Bat cave full of issues. So it's a very important thing for
he's got knives on his hands. Yeah, there's a physical
aspect to her that makes her a very important member of the Bat family, because it's important to her to be able to show people that she cares and that they're important, and it's a very affectionate thing that the rest of them sort of lack because of who they were raised by. So as Oracle and Cassie talk, Cassie is very proud of herself for saving Mr. Robinson, who then shows up on TV, which she reacts to with utter glee, not understanding that it's actually about his wife saying that he's been kidnapped. Once Oracle explains it to her, Cassie kind of goes to blow off steam and destroys a whole punching bag. Oracle quickly deduces that the man that they stopped earlier was actually the son of a mob boss. The leader from the assault was just actually a big bad. And he took Robinson to a now quote unquote mob prison. Before it was a steel work, but it has been converted back since to a prison for them. And without any waiting, Cassie goes and tries to find it, and she pretty much takes down the whole prison by herself. But by the time she gets to Robinson, he's already in pretty bad shape. She busts down a whole brick wall to get him out, which is badass. But with her dying breath, he gives her this letter that we saw in the beginning to give to his wife. Even with her full mask on, it doesn't hide the fact that she's going through a lot of anguish and torment, that she couldn't save this man who helped save someone else.
It's so sullen. It carries especially that page where she's just fading in between. His vision is fading. She's the only thing he sees as he's handing it to her. It's heart-wrenching.
And when she goes to give the letter to his wife, she reads the body language of how she reacts to the letter and sees that it actually brings her some peace of mind after losing her husband. And the issue ends with Oracle finding her sleeping at a desk with sheets littered around the desk with scribbles on them because she wants to learn to write, because she understands that it could convey emotions better than she can.
Yeah. It's a lot. So this issue starts by showing us a mob bookkeeper that went on the lam, but he hid his real cooked, the cooked books inside. Was it it was a flash drive in his daughter's teddy bear, and would it be a no? It was a disc.
It was a disc.
I don't know. Been a long week. But
so one on the lam is actually a mob term for trying to go on the run. I wanted to put that in there because I like that a lot.
I mean, it is a good line.
And cooked books means he fudged all the numbers.
Yeah, I know. I know what those are.
But I mean, the people at home might not.
I mean, you're right. I don't know why I'm pretending I'm the only one listening to this.
Yep, it seems to be a theme.
Yeah, I don't know. So, in his mind, the bookkeeper didn't think the mob would ever think to look there, but they pretty much, as soon as he left, abduct his daughter. So Batman and Oracle argue because of Robinson's death, because Batman sees it as a failure despite him being gravely wounded even before she even got there to save him. And Oracle says if he says anything to her about how that she failed and that the death is on Cass, that he is no longer welcome in her home, which is her base, which is also it's a clock tower, which is interesting. I don't know why I'm scrambling at this moment.
So this is a huge thing. Like, Batman isn't actually that great at mentoring. This whole argument brought up some thoughts for me because it's a big example of his failures as a mentor. Oracle and Nightwing have actually been better mentors to young members of the Bat family than Batman was. The reason Dick turned out so well is because he didn't want his trauma to rule his life like Bruce has let it.
Yeah, especially because, I mean, in this point in time, it was that everyone in the DC universe, they saw that time of their lives as like simpler. Like, they saw the Silver Age as something really simple. Like, there was that stakes grew over time. And everyone's like, oh yeah, the good old days where a kid could be running around punching goons, but be completely fine. Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Did you take nostalgia or something?
Huh?
You keep saying nostalgia, the drug from Watchmen that makes you remember the past. I want to see how many times you said simple in this episode. Simpler times. Are you stuck in the golden age? Are you good?
I mean, it's better than COVID times.
Yeah. So that really is the reason he is a lot more well-adjusted than the other members of the family. And that's why these books where Oracle is a mentor rather than Batgirl, I feel like she's a lot more impactful because she is the mentor for both Cass and Steph, who we'll be covering in our next episode. And Dick has been a mentor to everyone, and most importantly, Damian, because Damian grew so much more from having Dick be Batman than his own father. So Batman has a lot of issues that he just can't solve.
Yeah. So, and then, okay. Back into the story we go. Batman takes Cass with him on a mission because he knows she can relate to the evil day paying for his sins.
What? I miss. Hold on.
Oh, that's on me.
Batman takes Cass with him on the mission because he knows she can relate to the evil father thing and having to pay for his sins. That was me. I miswrote that.
Okay.
One.
Okay.
Yeah. So he brings her because she understands what this little girl is going through.
Okay. Yeah. So the mission goes pretty well, but they hit a snag as Cassie runs into her first metahuman, and oh my god, he dresses like your run-of-the-mill thug, but he's got these animalistic qualities that are just like conveying everything he's about. Like, he's got like these solid black eyes, he's got like piercings, and it really reminded me of a wild boar. Like, whew. But so back on that mission, Cassie's able to save the girl and take down the meta, but she does end up unconscious because of that fight. And this is just one of those examples of her being better than Bruce, because he was afraid that she couldn't handle it, but she actually takes him down, because after she notices that he's carrying Batman's symbol that he ripped off Batman. And then she just goes ham on him. Just lays into him. But after finding the tape and the teddy bear, it turns out that Cain had put the tape of Cass killing the mob boss 10 years prior. This sends Bruce spiraling. Bruce just wants Cassie to be better than him because she reminds him so much of himself. Like, to grasp that idea that she was raised as a killer is not easy for him. And this whole story beat is similar to Damien, actually. Because when Damien was trained as an assassin by the League of Assassins, not just a lone assassin, he was raised in what is basically just a death cult.
Yeah, so I think it's one of the reasons Bruce is able to handle that better, because he's dealt with something similar before. Yeah. But knowing that he didn't have control over how someone was brought up in his mission is really hard for him.
Yeah, like, which is it is important to note that event later on in this series, he does adopt her.
Yeah. So in issue 4, it opens with Bruce and Alfred discussing this tape with Cassie killing the mob boss. Alfred doesn't even realize that it's Cass until Batman tells him that it's her. They talk about it, and Bruce just can't get over the fact that it's even a thing. And Alfred notes that it's clear that she doesn't even know what she's doing, and that maybe it's a fake video, which Bruce clings to that idea.
Even when the evidence contradicts that completely, he's just like, no, it's fake. It's fake. It's fake.
Yeah, he's grasping at straws.
Yeah.
So, in this panel, he's sitting in his chair and he just looks utterly defeated, which we've seen once before in this series so far. And it's just, the art is very expressive of him being defeated and not knowing what to do. Elsewhere, Barbara and Dick Grayson are chatting about what it's like to live with Cass. And we find out Barbara likens it to living alone, as the schedule of being a bat, as well as the limited communication. Bab says that she feels like she barely knows Cass, and it kind of makes it hard for her to care about her. And Cassandra is standing in the background the whole time. She doesn't understand what the conversation is, but it's just sad that she's even there.
And Barbara responds just she's just surprised that she's there.
Yeah. So Cassie goes out into patrol, and she starts to fight a group of guys in suits, real Secret Service types, to save a guy who turns out to be a metahuman, specifically a telepath, who rewires her brain to make her understand the English language. But with that comes a big problem, as she can no longer read body language. She's so confused by this that the entire time she's fighting people, she realizes that it's too late, and she's stopped being able to be... she's not able to read their body language, and she loses the fight.
Oh, now I get to talk about the best double 2-page spread ever. All right, so oh my god, guys. There's talk written 3 times. One is just martial arts, just in the shape of letters, but then the next one is slowly morphing into words, and then the third one is just talk. It's so cool, and you can see it's in her brain in the background, and on both corners, you see him putting his finger to her forehead and her kind of recoiling. It's so cool.
Bruce runs some tests on the recording, and it's 51% accurate, which he chalks up to being because it was a tape converted to digital, and it was through a peephole of a keyhole, and it is a real tape. So he's like, I have to just go and figure this murder out myself.
Yeah. So Cassie wakes up with a gun put up to her against her head, and she instantly fights off these two mob guys, but she comments that her inner monologue is throwing her off. Like, and it's consistent. Like, it's running through her head. There's no quiet moment for her anymore. So she does the only logical thing she can think of and goes to tell Oracle what's up. But then she realizes that while she can understand English, her body isn't physically tuned to speaking. So she can't form the words. And Barbara quickly figures it out, but before they can figure anything else out, she has to go back and find the guy, save him, and hopefully he can put her back to the way she is. But Batman gets some info on the victim from a tape that he turns from Tim Drake, at this time known as Robin. And it turns out that the man that Cassie killed was a big time hitman. But then Bruce goes up to dig up the grave. Then he goes to confront Cain because, he wanted to see how much of the tape was accurate because he's still latching on to that idea. But Cain tells him, the video is real, but he made a mistake because he believes that Cassie was not ready. That she could disconnect emotion from the act of killing. And this is her as a little girl, so of course she really didn't know what she was doing all that much. But Cain says that every hitman in Gotham is going after that telepath, and Bruce realizes, oh no, Cassie's there alone. So he races back to Gotham to help. Cassie finds the telepath, but after losing him, she saves him, but learns that even though he changed her, he can't put her brain back to her normal. It's like you can see when he says, "Yeah, I can't do it." You see her just kind of break. She's like, "Oh, I'm stuck like this. I can't go back to myself."
And then our final issue, we learn about the telepath Jeffers and the experiments he underwent to make him into a psychic. It was more lab tests, and a scientist was going to sell his brain. Batman finally arrives on the scene and learns that even though Cass is guarding the sewer from the hitmen, she's not her normal punchy self. Jeffers explains that he may have screwed some stuff up in her brain because of what he did. The issue then follows Batman and Cass trying to defend Jeffers while Cass realizes without her normal control, she is a lot more dangerous and could kill someone if not careful. Both the bats go after the professor that put the hit out on Jeffers, and there is a battle in the woods where Batman tells Cass to stay inside and just protect. Like, he can't risk her killing someone or hurting someone beyond repair. But she realizes there's a highly armed group of goons coming to ambush Batman, which he doesn't catch. Like, he doesn't catch them coming. So she springs to action to stop them from getting the drop on Batman. When only a couple of the goons remain, she realizes that she's stuck between two. One that's about to open fire and one that's behind her. If she moves out of the way from the gunfire, it's going to kill the guy behind her. So instead, she rushes full force towards the gunman, getting shot just like a bunch of times, but she still takes him down. And it ends with her waking up in the Batcave with Leslie Tompkins and Batman standing over her, just thankful that she's all right. So, Jake, what was your favorite panel from the issue? I think we all know.
Oh, yeah. Talk.
I really like that one because it's a full combination of the expression, the color, and the story all in one. And it's really a well-done splash page.
And it doesn't, muddle what he's doing to her brain. Like, you get a sense of, even if you didn't know, if you were reading it at the time, you kind of knew where this was going. Based off of that panel. It's just, well to post that online.
Yeah. So, my favorite moment from the issue, all the issues, is actually at the end, when Batman asks her why she did it, why she ran at the goon, and she says instinct, and it just makes him smile and say good job. He knows that he can trust her not to hurt people.
Yeah.
So for suggested readings, I
reading.
actually went to an expert on Cass, my friend Bobby, who I don't think I've ever met anyone who loves Cass more than them. They're an incredible resource on Cass. So I was like, hey, what would you suggest? And they said Shadow of the Batgirl by Sarah Kuhn and Nicole Goose, which is a young adult book from DC Comics. It's one of those standalones, but they said it was a really, really good expression of who she is, and the art is incredible. I've only gotten to read the first 2 chapters or so, but I do look forward to reading the rest. Also, her introduction in No Man's Land, which is a very big Batman event. It's one of the ones that people say can help you get started in the DC universe or with Batman in general, just because it's a big event and you get to learn all the characters and who they really are. Basically, Gotham City is ruined by an earthquake and deemed as a no man's land where no one can help them, and it's pretty much cut off from the world, and the city gets torn apart and things like that. The new Harley Quinn show has taken a lot of inspiration for it for season 2. And there is Gates of Gotham, where Cass is a supporting character, and she's got a lot of good scenes in that. And if you're looking for the more modern Cassandra Cain, you may want to check out Batman Eternal. It was a week-by-week series, kind of going into a new origin for her. Also, Detective Comics by James Tynion is also a fantastic endpoint for Cass in the modern DC universe. You can find us on Twitter at DC Super Sons. You can find us on everything as Super Sons. And catch us in 2 weeks. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thanks.